That title is a pretty bold claim. After all, is there such a thing as a perfect video game? Yes, but that's besides the point. I've been addicted to Pizza Tower for the past couple of weeks, and this game has been nothing short of amazing. It's fast-paced, it's kinetic, it's frantic, it has a phenomenal soundtrack, it has wonderful animation, it is everything I could have ever asked for in a video game, and then some. So this video will be a quick review of it. I won't be spoiling too much, if anything, because I really think this game is best enjoyed blind. Every single stage has their own unique gimmick, and I would not want to spoil that for anyone, because some of these had me crying. So let's get things started as we talk about our boy, our main man, Peppino Spaghetti. Peppino, from a first glance, seems to be based on Wario in terms of appearance, with the mannerisms of Courage the Cowardly Dog. But despite being inspired by both of them, Peppino is able to carve out his own identity by being one of the most feral main characters I've seen in a video game in a minute. I love this TV at the top right. Like, you'd think it'd be a health bar or something, but no, you don't take damage in this game. Like, you can't die either, unless it's a boss fight, which the game has quite a few, and they're all pretty fantastic. But the TV on the top right is just purely aesthetic. It just showcases Peppino's emotions, it shows what outfit he's currently wearing if you're in like a power-up or something, and it's all great stuff. It's all beautifully animated, and I always loved looking at it. I especially love this one here when you are running during pizza time, and it just reminds me of Anel's face in One Piece, and it's perfect, it's peak. I'm sure you've noticed by now, but the animation in this game is absolutely one of a kind. It's inspired obviously by old 1990s Nickelodeon TV shows like Ren and Stimpy, but again, it carves its own identity while taking inspiration from those that the developers seem to grow up on. The developers themselves are McPig and Certif in terms of the programmers, and in terms of the composers, you have a bunch of songs composed by folks such as Klaxi Jito and Mr. Sauceman. It's a relatively small team for what is arguably one of the best games I've played in the past decade, so it's kind of funny. If you couldn't tell already, the game itself is heavily inspired by Wario Land 4 in terms of its mechanics of going through a two-dimensional level, then trying to escape and go as fast as you can as you make your way out. But you see, McPig found the secret sauce, just the little thing that Wario Land 4 needed to go from being a solid 9 to a 10 out of 10. A ranking system. Now, I don't know about you guys, but having grown up on games like Okami, Devil May Cry, Bayonetta, I think ranking systems are some of the best things you could ever put in your game. And boy, does it make Pizza Tower a hell of a lot better. There's something so satisfying about going through a level and trying to maintain a combo for the duration of the level, trying to get that elusive P rank, which I still haven't got, I've only got an S ranks. But it's really great. Every 5 increments in the combo meter you get a new title, and it always had me wanting to see what titles I could possibly achieve next. Plus, you are ranked at the end of each stage, with the lowest being D for damn, you really suck at this, to P for perfect, or P for pizza, which fits because this is Pizza Tower. Alongside our boy Peppino, we have Gustavo and his fellow New Yorker, Brick, and all three of them are great. I love their dynamic. They don't talk at all. The game has little to no writing aside from some dialogue here and there, but the game manages to be super funny. It's really funny to me when you have games like Forspoken or High on Life where you have entire writing crews dedicated to writing jokes and trying to make things that the player would find funny, when in reality all I need to laugh my ass off is to have this portly Italian man running full speed at an enemy and having that enemy shriek like a human man. Every time this happens, without fail, I always laugh, like it always gets to me. The slapstick humor is great. I love the different transformations that Peppino can fall under. I love what it does to him and his little sprite at the top right, like I mentioned before. There's so much love and care put into every single aspect of this game that it baffles me that it was made with such a small team. Like right here in this level, when it's going into a silhouette mode, kind of like Donkey Kong Country Returns, notice how if when you get closer to like the fire, you actually light up, and then as you go further away from it, like you go back to being a silhouette. I didn't even notice that my first time playing, but on recording this, I was like, damn, that's crazy. The stages themselves are super unique. Like I mentioned before, there is a unique gimmick to each stage, and they never overstay their welcome. There was never a stage where I'm like, oh, I don't really like this gimmick. All of them are bangers, like genuinely. And the theming around the stages are cool too, because you don't have like generic grassy plains or generic lava level. Like no, everything has their own unique flair that makes them all stand out and memorable, that like it makes you think about those stages well after you've beaten the game. Like, you compare the small indie title to a full-fledged AAA Mario 2D side-scroller, and you're like, huh, that's crazy, huh? But I don't want to compare Pizza Tower to too many things because I think the game can more than sufficiently stand on its own two legs. It is deserving of being its own thing. But I will admit that soundtrack does have a lot of samples and they all made me happy, so that's something to consider. Like here, okay, I won't spoil like songs for example, but this one track, it samples 4 different things that I all happen to love. The other thing to consider is that these can very well be stock noises or from like a sound bank or something, but it clicked in my head that I'm like, hey, I heard this before, and when I realized what I heard it from, it made me really happy. Right off the bat, we start off with a sample that's very similar to one used in Jet Set Radio, right here. Follow that up with a call that sounds a lot like Shiva from Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne. Then we got this sample here, straight out of a song from A Tribe Called Quest.
Come in, Mr. DJ. Come in, Mr. DJ.
Then, again, Jet Set Radio with the graffiti sound. And finally, throughout the song, we have the Come On from Sonic. The game is able to utilize all these different influences and samples, yet maintain its own identity, and I love this game for that. Each stage has you going from point A to point B, with point B being Pillar John, knocking him over and trying to haul ass to the start of the stage, but there's also one unique aspect that I think is absolutely awesome. So, you see that timer at the bottom? I mentioned before that it activates pizza time, but what exactly is pizza time? Well, you see. The moment it hits 0, this giant pizza face comes after you, and if he touches you, it's an instant game over. However, you can outrun him, and that's where second laps come in. In every single stage, there's a second lap portal that's activated upon activating pizza time and making your way towards the exit/entrance of the stage. And by going through the portal, you make your way back to where Pillar John once was, and you gotta do a second lap through the stage while this amazing song with this amazing guitar riff plays, and it is absolutely fantastic. And more times than not, you're gonna be hounded by Pizza Face the entire time you make your way through the second lap, and it's so nerve-wracking, but it is so worth it to get those sweet, succulent S ranks, dude. I used to play a lot of Sonic Mania. I had like 300 hours in it. I even had some world records, but this game is scratching that same Sonic Mania itch that I felt almost 6 years ago. Peppino himself can go from Mach 2, from Mach 3 to Mach 4, and it's so great, dude. It feels so exhilarating, and I love when the enemies scream in terror when they see you charging towards them. Peppino's main means of attacking is suplexing them and grabbing them and just me when I get you. The moves themselves are so cathartic, like biting an enemy or like suplexing them, like doing that slow spin. It's so visceral, and I love how graphic it is. It's not bloody, of course, but it's great. It's really violent. I don't know if it's just me, but I always laugh when I see just simple, innocuous things with faces on them, like all these blocks, or like this little pizza block with like glasses, for example. There's no dialogue that tries to make them funny, or like no one-liners or anything, except for Gustavo, because we cannot forget Gustavo's iconic catchphrase, "I'm going to kill you." But the game managed to have me smiling and laughing all throughout, and that's something that a lot of games find great difficulty in doing nowadays. The boss fights deserve some shoutouts too. All of them were great for me. Some people found them to be too difficult or didn't have the best time with them, but all of them were great for me. I have no complaints here. You get to fight iconic pizza toppings such as pepper, cheese, the Noid. It's all great stuff. If you know where to look, you can actually find out quite a bit of lore and background of Peppino and the supporting cast, which I find to be great. The fact that it's all optional, so if you're not really too big on that sort of thing, you don't have to be exposed to it, and if you're into that sort of thing, there's a lot to be had here, and I think that's a really great way of doing it. It's not overly dark or edgy, and it's not like Peppino's in a coma and like imagining all of this. Like, no, everything's happening for a reason, just like real life. Peppino moves so great, like, not only does he run really fast, but like, he can do like these little diagonal moves and all this stuff, and it's like, oh dude, this is so satisfying to chain. The game itself is just too addicting, man. Like, genuinely, I find myself replaying the same stages over and over just to get that elusive P rank, which I still haven't gotten because God hates me. But God also knows that I'm trying, so I'm gonna keep going at it. The game culminates with one of my favorite final bosses in any game, which again, I will not spoil because I want you to experience it for yourself, but boy, does it make everything all the more worthwhile, and it's a fantastic end to an already fantastic game. This video is shorter than what I typically make, but I want to make a review for this game that doesn't give away too much, but gives you just enough that makes you want to try this game out, which I highly recommend that you do. The game is only 20 bucks, so if you can't afford that, then make sure to save up a little bit and definitely get it when you can. It can run on anything, so don't worry about it. I'll go back to talking about manga soon, but I just want to get this video out there to just put into words this excessive love I have for this silly little game starring a protagonist named Peppino Spaghetti. This game makes me really happy, and I hope it makes you guys happy too. I'll link it in the description to its Steam page, so definitely give it a shot if you can. As always, this has been Ash, and I'll see you guys next time where I'll probably talk about manga or something along those lines. Take it easy, you guys.